So I guess next we got Killers of the Flower Moon, man, and this is a film that's Martin Scorsese's latest. It's adapted from a novelization about this case, and it in the 1920s, members of the Osage Native American tribe of Osage, they're actually Osage, members of the Osage Native American tribe of Osage County, Oklahoma, are murdered after oil is found in their land, and the FBI decides to investigate. And this plot is a little bit leaving a lot of shit out. The synopsis, but that's the base of the film, man. This film stars Leonardo DiCaprio. We also got Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons, Robert De Niro, and Louis Cancel Me. That's a wild name, Cancel Me. Like he's asking to be. We also get Larry Sellers, John Lithgow, and there's just a bunch of people in here, man. Even including a yo, this guy looks like so much like man, that's funny. I can't remember the name right now, but also a lot of native actors in this, considering the nature of this, the story itself, So essentially, the Osage people have been, given this reservation, and based on the laws at the time, one of the contracts of, getting reservation land is, it sucks. You're driven out of your native land and sent to this reservation. It is yours. The government says you can stay here, but also they allowed them to have rights to anything that was found there. And they happen to strike oil. So all of a sudden, I didn't know anything about the story, going in. So all of a sudden, these people or become the richest people per capita in the entire world, basically. So basically, the tribe leaders got together and they ended up leasing out drilling rights to these oil companies, So basically, they're getting a share of the profits that these oil companies make, and that goes to every individual member of this tribe that lived on this land. You got to share, man, woman, child, whatever. So interesting thing that was going on was, as these companies were coming in, you got a lot of workers coming in to work the land, and industry blooms up around. It's just like anything during this time, you've seen this going on with gold rushes and, any places where, even going on now these days where they're doing the fracking in North Dakota. You see this happening even now where industry pops up around that, and people are moving into, to just facilitate industry. You need stores, you need restaurants, you need hotels, things like that. You need transportation. But these people, man, they just become rich overnight, man. I thought that was interesting to see them being there, walking around like just loaded. Like I didn't know this was going on, but this is a true story, man. But so some of these people get wise. Our main character here, played by De Niro, is one of them, and it's a weird thing going on where you try to marry into the money. And in his case, he's kind of forcing this, he's got this crew of people, and basically over time, they've developed a system where they're taking that oil wealth from the natives, either by marriage, business dealing, or in his case, by murder sometimes,
Yeah.
And that's what comes into play, man. So, when this film starts, we're looking at there's dozens of murders so far. I think officially they said there possibly had been 60 murders connected, around them, just killing people, and it's a thing. So you get one of these white guys from out of town, he marries into the tribe, and just say his wife dies, or someone's husband dies, so they automatically inherit the money. So in that way, they're systematically taking his wealth back, from these natives, and at the same time, there's a clock in effect because eventually the oil money's going to run out. So they're trying to get in there before it dries up, before they pull everything out the ground, and before it dries up. So it kind of becomes one of the worst. It's an atrocity, man. When you think about it, man, it's the 1920s, but what was done to these people, man? And it's just like, you're looking at a society that's kind of, lucked into the American dream and then get it systematically taken from them, to the point where all of a sudden the president's new Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is called in to aid these people. And this is one of the first big cases that kind of made the FBI. And there's interesting scene in here where
correction, Corey. The president didn't just send them over. They had to pay money for them to do that. They weren't going to go out of their way. They weren't going to go out of their way to investigate these Native Americans, murdered. Yeah.
It's crazy, but the wild part though, one of the interesting parts of it is when De Niro was saying, "Who the hell is J. Edgar Hoover?" And if you know who Hoover was, you knew it was over, bro. It was probably over because Hoover wasn't fucking around, man. His whole tenure it's controversial, but he wasn't fucking around. If you was on his radar, it was over. And that kind of was an interesting moment, just because what I know about history. But then it goes on from there, man. We follow our main character, Ernest Burkhart, and his uncle William Hale, and it kind of gets into how they were using their methods to try to take wealth from this family. Molly Burkhart's family mostly is shown here, but there's other. It because of the scheme was so wide reaching, it basically was affecting the whole community. But Ernest is with getting the wealth from Molly's family. Molly has a lot of sisters, who also have, white husbands and just bigger connection to the community. And like I said, this whole tribe has money. So they're all kind of walking targets during this period, man. And it's kind of a story that shows the, just the evil that was going on around this, as well as just how deep corruption can run, and things of that nature. So that's pretty much a setup, man, right there, But what are your thoughts, man?
I love this film. Scorsese might be one of my favorite directors. I'm not saying outright favorite director, but he's among, my favorites. I pretty much, when I was watching this film, I pretty much had a hatred of De Niro, really for most of the white people that were showing up in this film. But De Niro and DiCaprio were despicable in this film. I don't know. It's just low down, just low downness that like everything that like De Niro represented. When people talk about white supremacy, this is a version of it, to where these people, and he would say these are innocent, wise people and stuff, but at the same time, he just doesn't think that they deserve what they inherited, or they're in a bad spot. Oil shows up, and these people could have lived their lives, living it up and everything, but you just have that, that element of people that doesn't want a minority to do well, or to prosper. I really, like I said, it was well out there, but it's a very sad film. It's a very sad film because, Native Americans are pretty much hunted for their, for their wealth, and parts of it, like De Niro's character, it's parts of it like, it's almost, it's pretty much planned out. You're gonna do this, and I don't know. I'm thinking about so much stuff that's happening in this. One of the things that's interesting we learned and is like all these Native Americans, even though they were wealthy, they had conservatorships to where they couldn't just go out and just spend money. So you have to have somebody from, a wealthy man or a person in the community to actually say it's okay for them to spend money or get some of their money, stuff that they actually own. And the interesting thing is when these people would die and somebody inherited, like a husband and wife a husband that was white inherited this. There's no censorship, or not censorship, conservatorship at all going. Yeah. So they just have just outright right to that money. It's just a messed up situation because you can have that money. Go ahead.
Yeah. You see, Lily's character go to meet with her conservatorship. I think it was Pitts Beatty, played by Gene Jones, and the first thing she says when she walks in is like, "I'm incompetent," and I'm like, "What? You one of the smartest, sharpest people in the tribe, but you've got to be, you know, do this meaning, humbling thing just to."
But
get
that's how they designated all those Native Americans, though. You know, you know, even though that,
I mean, it's what it did. It's what it was in the movie. So we see an example of that, and it's crazy, man. Like and
the thing is about when he's like, one of the things that was interesting. One of the things that was interesting when she was in Pitt's office, and that's like one of the first images you see of her. You look behind this guy's desk, and it's like it's pretty much a Klansman on a horse, you know, in that picture behind him. And I've said about
there's actually a moment in the film where they talk about bringing in the Ku Klux Klan for help, or going to the Ku Klux Klan for help, as if because at that time they weren't this, you know, they
were bad
they were bad men, but they were kind of thought of as more like Robin Hood type figures to the white you know, people in this era, you know what I'm saying? Which allowed them to get, you know, entrenched into those communities and get, you know, political power, you know, later. It wouldn't be years later till it was kind of a bad thing to be associated with them. But it's kind of, I mean, historically, I think it is accurate, and I'll give her props for portraying, you know, a lot of these, you know, situations, and that was interesting, man. But like, I would say, man, like, this is a 3.5 hour movie. That first hour is beautiful. I mean, like because even with Ernest, it takes a while before you realize that Ernest is in on this shit too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and in on it to the extent that he is. I mean, it's I don't think I'm spoiling it by talking about it, because this is based on a novel. This is a known story, but it's interesting that moment where his uncle approaches him and is like, "Hey, man, you need to get a wife." And you're just thinking like, well, yeah, that is a good idea. You're a young man. You know, you might want to start a family. I mean, this is just the thought of this era that we're used to. But then you realize, like, yo, this is a way you get you some money. All these women are running around here with all this money. And then even when Ernest marries his wife and he starts helping his uncle do his thing, it's almost just like, all right, Ernest's going to have a limit. He's going to help his uncle do the scam of trying to take these people in his wealth, but he's not going to sink low enough to do this shit to his wife. And for a minute, you're just like, all right, this is what's going on. But once that switch turns and you realize he's also a scumbag, that shit started fucking with me, though. Because it's like the rest of the film, you're just watching this guy act as if he's this exemplary husband. But then, you know what I'm saying?
Like I said, both of them were the
meanwhile, what's really happening is just so fucked up and crazy for me, man. So for me personally, man, I have it's tough for me, man. My feelings about this film are complicated, man. Watching it, I think it's very well directed. I think it's very well acted. I think it's probably one of the best made things I've seen in years, man. But at the same time, some of the decisions of this thing, like, I question this as a person of color, as a person who is a bit sensitive to how this country has treated indigenous people, and it makes me wonder how certain things in this film would have came out if we got an actual Native American director involved instead of Scorsese. Because as great as Scorsese is, I think he still does have some blind spots, especially when I read about how this film, they changed the script to, he's realized he was making a film that wasn't really considering the Native people, and he rewrote it. And I still think at the end of this thing, I can't see where the changes were made, man, because this still film, even though these guys are the bad guys, but it, like, considering that this is atrocity committed against these people, this film still feels like the Ernest and Williams show, man. And part of that kind of leads to how I experience it, man. I'm watching this thing, man, and I know you talk about how things like Saw just feel gratuitous and unnecessary, but there are some moments in this film where I kind of was getting the same thing, man. I mean, we open up with a montage that indicates what's going on in this town. I'm like, yo, that's a lot of bodies. And then it's just a repetition of just murder and death inflicted on these people. And it just started eating at me, dude. I was like, man, this is so miserable shit. And I don't know, like, all right, put it this way, man. We've seen Scorsese do this in Gangsterland, and a lot of those things are based on real stories, man.
Gangsterland.
Yeah, Gangsterland. We're talking about Goodfellas.
Oh, okay.
The Departed, and part of me as a viewer is like, okay, those guys are bad people. You know, they're kind of getting, just from being involved in that life, you're getting what comes with that life. But watching some of the same stylized violence inflicted, like depicted on innocent people, it just kind of by the end I was just like, God damn, dude, I get it, I got it when Ann died, but we gotta see Henry, you gotta see more and more, and I'm like,
I know,
dude, it starts to wear on me, and that's one of my criticisms. This thing is 3.5 hours. I think you could have told the same story in 2.5. So, but if you're going to give me 3.5 hours, why don't we get the FBI actually sitting with the natives? We get one scene where they come and rescue Lily, but where's the initial, like, yo, what's going on? We're here to help. Like, we don't get that. They go straight to, once again, William and Ernest, the focal point of this movie. It's weird, man. Choices were made. It's complicated, man. Like I said, my feelings about it are complicated, like to the point where this thing affected me in a way, and I think that's what we do want art to do. Like I watched this thing with just total disgust for William and Ernest, and also the government, because even at the conclusion of this, the conclusion is still messed up. They're on the hook for maybe 2-3 murders at most.
Yeah, but that's
when there's 60 bodies.
Yeah.
And you find out that they both were released out of prison. William served 18 years. Ernest got out in 11. And it's like, and I'm like, God damn, dude. And like I said, it makes me wonder.
But that's how the times were. Those, and it makes her killing. I don't really think that any of them, just. I feel like this when we're watching it. It's overall just prejudice towards Native Americans. It's prejudice toward them anyway. But a lot of people just had a hatred of them just because they were pretty much saying that they were, in so many words, lazy and didn't work. But you're rich, they're rich.
Yeah. But you don't have that same criticism of the Rockefellers of that era, or the Roosevelts of that era, or the Kennedys of that era. The people that also just sat around collecting checks because
just held himself. He was a cattle rancher, but he just had so much influence with the Native Americans. There's no telling how much money he was coming up off of.
Such a snake, man.
I
mean, I get it depicting the like I said, man, like it just makes me wonder, man, because lately we have seen these, man, when these things come up, addressing historical things, and it's interesting that Scorsese actually signed on to do this film, because typically I feel like most films made in this era of this type, they're done, if it's a slavery film, it's done by a black director. If it's a film about atrocities against women, it's done by a women director. So it's interesting. Like I said, I would like to see, even when we get to something as a horror action adventure film starring natives, we get a native director with praise. So it just makes me wonder how this would have came out and depicted in this way, because like I said, man, there's things that just hit different, man, which is cool.
Yeah, but
De Niro's doing his thing, but I wonder, I don't know if that is the proper techniques to put on something like this at the same time.
I think that if it was told from I don't know. It would be told different, but it's at the same time. I think it's. I don't know. I think you're seeing it as a bigger picture instead of. I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
It's complicated, man. It's complicated, dude. Like I'm not like I said, man. Like
But you know something.
I look at this film, and I think the film artistically, technically, like all of that is in play, but also I gotta think of the bigger implications, man. These things have weight and they bear meaning, man. So it just makes me wonder, man. I'm just throwing hypotheticals out here, and like I said, my reaction to this film, man, watching it as a viewer, I'm like, God damn, yo, they acting their ass off, but this shit is like, it's a lot, man.
Yeah, but
like when we saw when we found Anne, dude, I cried, bro.
Yeah,
and then it didn't let up. It didn't let up, and there was no relief for these people. Even Molly's last scene, I'm like, God damn, like what is the point of this? Like, all right, we got the misery. We've done all of this already, but where, what are you trying to say? Like,
it really isn't a happy ending in this, though.
Yeah, I know the story doesn't have a happy ending, but I don't know, man. Part of it also makes me feel like even there's another, like, I've come to this conclusion in my head lately. It's like, I don't think I can sit through this again, dude. I really can't. And I've had a few films where I reserved that for different reasons. One of them is 12 Years a Slave. But even 12 Years a Slave, our guy, he has at least a moment where he gets out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And another one is motherfucking what is that film, man?
Schindler's List for me.
Cannibal Holocaust, bro. And that's different because that just it's that film is so brutal, and it's just the gratuitous of this. And maybe I think we're getting the intersection of these a little bit. I feel like some of this was the depiction of it, even though it is real. You're telling facts of things that happen. But some of it is just feels a bit gratuitous, man. Like especially the violence of it, man. Like that repetition, like I said, shit got to me, man. I was like, God damn. But you have choices. You have choices. We could have showed these people doing more stuff, man. It's like think about it. We only get one scene where the whole town is actually a moment where they're talking about it. We could have sprinkled that in throughout more of this 3 hours and took away some of the straight up bodies. Like I did. You know what? I don't feel like I knew a bunch about these people by the end of it. Yes, they were well depicted. They did a great job creating the era. They did a great job nailing the costumery and all that. But they were just they got to be more than victims. You know. That's all, man. You know, man. We all got different opinions on this. That's just how I'm feeling about it. You know. So maybe you have different ideas.
But I just it to me it's just showing how that group of white people were preying on those Native Americans. That's the only way I kind of can see him really telling the story properly to me. But you know something that's interesting. That was Native American land, but you probably saw more white people in this film. Just because they it's like they came to work and all that stuff, and they're making a living off of this because it's pretty much a boom town because of that oil being there. But it's real interesting. You could
man. Put it this way, man. I've never seen a historical film unless it was specifically about the help, where you see the help get more screen time than the you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's kind of it's kind of a messed up situation, and I don't know. I feel like this, Corey, like just being black sometimes. Like, how do I want to say this? These people wouldn't have lives there or prospering at all if it wasn't for the Native Americans at all. But all of them hate them and want to use them up. And that's I don't know. It's kind of a messed up situation, or kind of messed up way to.
Honestly, if you really want to look at it, it's probably one of the few examples we've got of colonialism in America. Like conversely, I'm like, because this thing got my mind going looking at things like this, man. So I'm looking at I'm looking into the Boer Wars and the Zulu War. For some reason, that popped into my head. I'm looking at documentaries, and the whole time, Johannesburg is a prime example. They found gold there, man, and that's how that whole town came about. All of a sudden, you got more white people in town than you know what I'm saying?
The people that actually, that actually natives there don't have any rights at all.
Because
they don't have any other wealth at all.
They didn't have a deal like the Osage had. You know, the Osage got lucky. They granted them those protections if you find anything, because they didn't think they would find anything there. This was like a 1 in a million chance. Most reservations don't have shit on them. They did a good job taking them spots. So that's why some of them got wealthy with casinos, but most of them don't have anything.
I think similar thing happened in Deadwood. You know, the show Deadwood. That was Native American land. I think they might have drove the Native Americans out, but they found gold in that area, and that's what made, you know, that whole series and stuff, you know, kind of made that like a boom town, because gold was found on Native American land or reservation land. But in that show, you don't see it. You don't see it. You rarely see a Native American in that show, because all of them are gone.
Yeah, and I get it. This is an adapted thing, man. So the original book, from what I understand, is actually more from the FBI point of view. And you know, some liberties were made with this. But also, man, I would ask you to challenge you to look at the dialogue, the word count, and the screen time count, man. And this, like I said, man, this is the Ernest and Williams show, bro. Which is wild, man.
But I'm telling you. I
will say this, man. Like I said, man, I'm not taking away from, like, this is one of the most well-made things I've seen in years. But like I said, at the same time, I have a complicated relationship with it, man. You know, and that's what it is. I wouldn't tell you to not go see it. You know, it's going to be on Apple TV Plus. I do encourage you to take the time and watch this because of the information. Like I said, I didn't know anything about this. You know, but outside, I will give you fair warning, man. I didn't know that this was Zimmy, dude. That this thing would hit me like this, man. And I've seen some mess up things these past few days. When Evil Lurks hit me hard, but in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't feel icky at the end of it. I watched Saw 10, and that didn't feel as violently exploitive as this to me, man. But no, it is what it is, man. But everything else, man, is crazy, man. I don't know how Leo DiCaprio would manage to contort his face for a full 3 hours to pull this off, but that dude motherfucker's a chameleon, man. He's one of the best, bro. I wish he came out and did more smaller shit though. I hate when actors get so big that they can't do many co-starring or small bit parts. I think that robs the audience, man. It robs film goers, man. Like I still need Denzel to pop up one time and just do a quick little like you know, hit us with, you don't gotta be the star, Denzel, man. Have some fun with it. But it is what it is, man. You know, and shout out to Molly Gladstone. I think she's gonna go some places, man. Because she, like I said, that first hour when she was sitting there with DiCaprio and they're courting. And that shit was beautiful to me, man. I'm watching that, like, I'm so amused. I'm just watching these two actors kind of spar and duel. And like, it just felt so fucking real, man, and authentic, man. It was beautiful, dude.
They had real good chemistry. And like, I want to say, like, De Niro, this is probably the best thing I've seen De Niro in years.
Yeah, man.
He was low down two baseball player in this film, but goodness gracious.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Lithgow, man. We got a little, some cool stuff from him.
Shoot, Brandon Fraser pops up for a second, and I was, it caught me completely off guard in this.
You know, I think Fraser was working on The Whale at the same time, or he had just finished The Whale, because he's a big dude, but that man was big in this, man. I was like, bro, he still got that whale weight on him, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. I don't know, man. It's complicated, man. But it's going to be, even if you don't go see it in theaters, it's going to be on Apple TV Plus once this theatrical run is done. And honestly, I think this theatrical run might marinate a little bit. They'll probably just do a dual thing, you know, because I'm pretty sure the Oscar buzz is running, you know, deep for this thing, you know. But let's see. Anything else you want to mention about it?
No. The artist Jason Isbell played Bill Smith in it. You know, he's
okay.
Yeah. Then he was an interesting character, but I don't think he was probably better than anybody, but he kind of knew what the game was, you know, and he wasn't really in on it.